We go to a final film for this week. A final film for this week, and that is a film called Fresh, and it's a film on Disney Plus, starring Sebastian Stan, he of Winter Soldier fame, and Daisy Edgar-Jones, she of I Am Reliably Informed Normal People fame, because Normal People was this thing that was based on a novel by an Irish author called Sally Rooney that was on BBC Three and was massive right at the beginning of the pandemic, and everybody was watching it, and I never have.
Me
So
neither.
yeah, but that was her real
20
big
years
thing.
too
So
old for that.
yeah, that everybody knows Daisy Edgar Jones
Yeah.
from that. And I think I'm quite happy for her that she is now beginning to parlay that into other roles, especially in America. And this is her doing, I think eventually I will watch something which Daisy Edgar Jones actually plays an English woman. But so far, the things I've heard of is she was playing an Irish woman in Normal People, and now she's playing an American. So this is her
She's
playing state.
coming up in Where the Crawdad. I know Where the Crawdads Sing. I think there's an adaptation of that, and
Yeah,
she's in that.
Yeah, where the crawdads sing. Something that I saw the trailer for today, and that's what made me think, oh, Daisy Edgar Jones is making some moves.
Yeah.
she, she's making
Book
some moves.
adaptations, but she's getting there.
Yeah, well, no, she's getting there. It looks like they're putting a lot of money behind this. It is very proudly proclaiming that this will be in cinemas only, and I'm thinking that if nowadays if they're making a big deal about putting something in cinemas, they're putting some money behind it as opposed to putting it onto a streaming platform, which I can imagine cost less. But so yeah, and I'll put aside the fact that I kept confusing her with A, Anne Hathaway, and B, Rebecca Hall, because there's
Okay.
there's bits of her face that remind me of those two. I
Mhm.
know they're different people. If I look for more than a second, I can tell them apart. But but a fleeting glance, I'm like, oh, I saw the thumbnail of this. I was like, huh, is that Rebecca Hall? And then you go in there. So this is Sebastian Stan, Daisy Edgar Jones, and this is a film in which it is hard to say anything about without spoiling it.
Okay.
Because and a lot of the reviews you hear about this film don't really talk about the film so much as they talk about the reaction of the people who are watching the film to the film, and trying very hard not to tell you anything about the film. Now, and it's something that I'm particularly aware because I figured out what this film was about based on I think based on like two lines of a review and the title of the film. I was like, oh, this is obviously what's going to happen. And so I watched the film and I was pretty much bang on. I don't know what that says about me, but until you watch the film, you don't realize.
Maybe
Yeah.
probably,
So what was that, Sharon?
probably seen too many films.
It might mean that I've seen too many films, but I know a lot of people who have seen a lot of films who are still quite shocked by this and are still kind of like, "What the heck is going on?" But I was kind of like, that's obviously where it's going." But the basic thing of so okay, a lot of the films that we've been talking about today, we've been talking about it. We've used the word commentary quite often, saying this is like a commentary on blah 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 blah, and this film is really about modern dating and what dating looks like and when people go on apps and how they meet people. And in the beginning of the film there's a lot of talking about um how do people actually just meet people in real life anymore, or what happens when you go on and people go on dates and they meet horrible people. So essentially as I said, this is like a horror film, and at the beginning what it is it's like a dating horror film, because it's just like whatever happens, dating sucks is what happened. And um then Daisy Edgar Jones's character Noah meets Steve, played by Sebastian Stan, and they randomly in real life they get on, things go on and everything like that, and then they at some point they go away for a weekend in this new budding relationships, and things happen. That is pretty much what it is. Now you would essentially it would be a really boring film if they went away for a weekend, had a lovely time, and came back. So, so all you know is that things happen, and I am going to stop my review there, and
Okay.
I'm going to stop my review there and say they go away, things happen, because I would say go watch the film. The main one of the reasons, as I said, I figured that this was a horror film. I figured it was gonna, and I don't like horror films, but because people were talking about this film so much, I had to watch it to see if I was right. Well, spoiler alert, I was, and B, I had to watch it just so it was one of those weird things where I was pretty sure I knew what this thing was, but I did not want to read somebody spoiling it for me, if that makes sense. I didn't
Yeah.
want to have like what I thought was going to happen confirmed by a Wikipedia page or by somebody being to on Twitter, which this is the kind of film that will do that kind of stuff for. But I will say the performances are good. There are horror film things that happen in this that but horror film things that happen in it that you know, like how I was saying with X, they happen, but the characters make it a little bit more believable than, and the performances make it a little bit more believable than what they usually would be. There's a I mean, a shout out to all the black people in the film. Like, there's Jojo T. Gibbs who plays her best friend Molly, who I think is really really good. And there's a guy who plays a barman called Dio Kenny, and he is. I feel like they could have done more with him, but he's almost kind of like a commentary on the place of black people in films like this. So,
Okay.
yeah, like he's pretty much driving around and he's making a commentary on what's happening to and what his place is in the story as it goes along. So it's knowing, it knows what it is.
Yeah.
It has a bit of a sense of humor about some of the stuff that happens. The performances are good. I would give it a 3 out of 5. It is a high 3, but because it was exactly it was kind of what I was expecting to happen that happened, and the fact that I'm not the biggest horror movie fan. I'm not the biggest horror movie fan. Uh, and I think maybe because now I have a daughter, there's some stuff that happens in the film that makes me go, ooh, I don't think I like that. So, so, so yeah, so but it has stayed with me, and it has made. I'll tell you how bad it was. I watched this film, and then there was an interview with Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar-Jones that I did not want to listen to because I did not want to be reminded about this film. So, so whether that's a good thing or a bad thing that this film has affected me enough that I don't want to listen to an interview because I don't want to be reminded about the film.
Yeah.
You make of that what you will. Don't worry, I'm still here. You make of that what you will. But I would give that 3 stars out of 5.